Hello, thanks for tuning in. These are the lesser known news stories of the Ukraine war for Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025. Our first story comes from the Security Service of Ukraine, and intelligence agents managed to prevent the assassination of a Ukrainian soldier who was part of an elite unit of the AFU air assault troops in Zaporizhia. And authorities arrested a 44-year-old medical occupational safety engineer for allegedly working with Russia's FSB, which is the former KGB intelligence agency, to plan the assassination, which involved planting an improvised explosive device at the soldier's front door and then detonating the explosive remotely. And if convicted, the suspect faces life in prison with confiscation of his property. Then our next story is from Ukraine's State Border Guard Service, and they announced that members of Ukraine's Heart Brigade managed to destroy Russian communication towers and other communication systems in the Yuzhno-Slobozhansky direction. And two Russian military vehicles and five soldiers were also eliminated in the operation. The Yuzhno-Slobozhansky direction has been the scene of recent heavy fighting, but Ukraine has managed to prevent the Russians from breaking through the defensive lines to this point in the most recent news that I saw about that. And then moving on to our next story, this comes from resistance fighters with Ukraine's Atesh partisan group. They explained on Telegram, in a Telegram post, that its members had sabotaged a Russian locomotive that was sitting on tracks near Bryansk in Russia on Saturday night. Atesh representatives say the locomotive was attached to a train that was being used by the Russians to transport ammunition, equipment, and fuel, along with reserves for Russia's northern group of fighters to the border regions. And then another story, this actually is from a video that was posted by the Ministry of Defense of Russia on their RuTube page, which is essentially the Russian YouTube. And it shows a checkpoint that was set up in the Russian-occupied city of Bakhmut, Ukraine, which the Russians referred to by the old city name Artemovsk in the video's description. The Russians claim that the checkpoint was set up to verify activities of passing vehicles and search for illegal drugs and weapons, but the checkpoint was also likely set up to keep the local population under tighter surveillance. And then our final story today comes from the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. And in a Telegram post, the agency explains how a Russian drone attack on a gas station in Kherson ignited a fire. And as first responders went to the scene and worked to put out the fire, Russia actually launched another drone in their direction to attack them as they were trying to put out the fire. But they were given enough the workers were given enough notice to clear the area and seek safety before the second drone struck. And thankfully, there were no reports of any injured or killed workers from that incident. And also, another interesting note, and this kind of shows this kind of day and age of technology. A fire extinguishing robot was also used to help put out the fire. So anyway, that is it for today's news briefs. Thank you all for watching. If you like this content, please be sure to like and subscribe, and have a good day. Thanks.